All right, guys, awesome to have you here today. I can't wait to help you improve your distance and ramp up that club head speed. Now, I don't know if you're like me, but growing up, I always heard over and over again, we want to keep it short and straight. We want to hit it in the fairway. Hitting fairways is absolutely the best thing to do. Hitting greens is the best thing to do. And I agree with that. It is nice to hit fairways and greens. It makes your round a little bit easier. But commonly, we're told to slow down, cut down our swing, make the angles really good, make it short and tight, and then get it in the fairway. Don't try to go after it. Don't try to swing hard. Well, in reality, that's not what the top pros are doing. If you look at the top 10 players in the money list on the PGA Tour, that's guys like Dustin Johnson, Rory McIlroy, Adam Scott, Justin Thomas. Those are big hitters. Those are really good players. You don't see a lot of guys out there that are short, consistent, and straight in the top of the money list. Even at your local club, the longest hitters, I bet they're some of the best players at your club too. So I want that to be you guys. I want you guys to pick up some great speed and have a lot more fun out there. Go ahead and let it rip, chase it down, and make a lot more birdies. Golf's a lot more fun when we can hit it far. So if I take my short, consistent swing, usually what I see when players do this, if I'm just trying to get it in the fairway, a lot of times I'll kind of cut out what I'm doing with my legs. So you might oftentimes, if we're looking from the down the line view here, oftentimes you'll see the hips aren't really opening up very much. That right heel kind of stays on the ground as you're coming through contact. And what that does is it makes it more into an arm swing. So if my lower body kind of cuts off and doesn't really get a lot of power from my lower body, I end up using all upper body, and I'm kind of trying to guide it down the fairway. Let's go ahead and take a look and see what one looks like when I'm doing this kind of guide mode. I'm kind of calming everything down. I'm not getting very aggressive with my body motion. I'm just going to try to hit one short and sweet right down the middle. I still feel like I put out a decent amount of effort on that. That ball didn't have a lot of pop on it, even though I hit it pretty daggone solid. Got some nice run on it, so not a bad shot. You playing around, you think, okay, that's pretty good. I got it short and straight. My club head speed was 110. My carry distance was 254. Like I said, that thing took off running, pretty firm fairways. Almost ran out to 294. So I get up there and I'm thinking, hey, that's pretty good. Then I get in a little bit of trouble and I get even shorter and tighter. And I multiply that 2, 3, 10 weeks, a year, 2 years. And before I know it, I've lost 15 or 20 miles an hour club head speed. And I'm really not even that much straighter because of whatever speed I gave up was from my body not working as aggressively, and I had to get more hands and arms into it to try to keep it straight. So it's kind of an endless cycle there where as soon as we hit one off track, we slow it down more and more. If we could just ramp up that speed, get going a little bit faster, you'll actually find your consistency doesn't really suffer that much, and you're going to hit it another 20, 30 yards. So let's go ahead and exactly how that's going to happen. Well, I talked about in the short, straight swing, usually the body kind of slows down, the hips slow down, we don't use our legs, we don't really whip this club through there, and we lose some power. Let's get out of that habit. Let's break that right now and get that speed ramped up. So I want you to go ahead and set up with your normal stance. We're gonna just do some practice swings here first, but you can see if I'm lining up for that ball, I'm basically taking my normal stance, and then I'm gonna bring my left foot back to my right foot. This is the baseball step drill. And what this does for you, as you step forward, I'm gonna have some flex in my legs. Now I'm starting to engage the lower body like those big hitters on tour are doing. From there, I'm gonna push down and out into the ground, and I'm gonna let this club whip back up as I'm coming on through. Now this is pretty counterintuitive. I think this is pretty cool. I never used to think about it this way, but if I'm telling you to swing as hard as you can, most people think I'm gonna take the grip of this club and I'm gonna pull it toward the target as hard as I can. That's gonna get me my speed. Watch what happens when I pull this club. If I pull this straight toward the target, watch what happens with the club head. It actually tries to kick this way a little bit, which will be away from the target, away the direction I'm trying to go, and it could be slowing it down. So the harder we pull, that club doesn't really accelerate that fast. Look at the club head itself. I'm just grabbing this with 2 fingers. I pull hard, the club really isn't going anywhere. Now what the best players on tour are doing, and what science has been showing us through a lot of research over the past few years, best players are getting some lag, and as that club swings down, they're pulling up hard. Watch what happens when I do that. If I take my 2 fingers and pull this club straight up toward the sky, now all of a sudden you see that club really start to accelerate toward the target. That's exactly what we want to do in our swing. If we're looking at it from this way, when I pull up and over my shoulder, the club's kind of going that direction. If I'm looking at it from face on, what the best players are doing, they're swinging really hard at the ball, they're taking this grip, and at impact, they're pulling up and over their left shoulder. That's getting that whipping action of the club coming through there. That's where you're gonna get a lot of your speed without having to be this big, huge, strong guy. You can just be a regular, everyday person and get that club to really accelerate through impact. When I'm doing my step drill, that's the sensation that I wanna have. I'm putting my feet together, I'm loading into the ground, I'm pushing up with my body, and I'm feeling this grip turn up kind of over my shoulder this direction. The more I can get that club to whip up that direction, the more speed I can get. Let's go ahead and do this 3 times in a row. We're gonna put the right foot stays the same, my left foot comes in. As soon as I start my backswing, I'm gonna take that step forward, and now as I get here, now I'm feeling like I'm gonna turn that club up and let it whip on through contact. Let's do 3 swings, maximum speed, as hard as you can go on these. If you're in your living room right now, grab a club, let's go ahead and get started. So here, oh yeah, I could definitely tell, swung a lot harder on that one. Do that, like I said, 3 or 4 in your living room until you get comfortable with that. Then let's go out to the course and do the same thing. 3 or 4 practice swings. Now, I'm gonna get a little crazy here. I'm actually gonna take that step with a golf ball and let her rip. I'm just gonna absolutely hammer on it. Let's see what it does to my club head speed here. So baseball swing again, take my feet together, take that step. There we go, right down the pipe on that one. Just kind of cutting barely into the right center of the fairway. I'm betting my club head speed was pretty high on that shot. Club speed was 118.7. My carry distance went up to 292 and it rolled out to 323. So noticeable difference between my first swing and my second swing. Now what you're probably asking here is like, okay Clay, I see that my swing speed can get higher and higher if I'm doing this baseball step, but I don't see guys on the PGA Tour doing a big baseball step and swinging. And that's true. We're gonna tone this down now to where we get the same sensation in our normal swing, but we're gonna take out the step. So let's go really in depth here, and let's actually show exactly what's going on from the ground up when we're doing this step drill and why it's getting you some more speed. Let's start with the foot. If I do this, that foot is flexing up. That's my calf muscles firing and extending my foot up. Well, the more that motion I get, the more upward force I can get. That's why you're seeing guys like Justin Thomas actually come up off their feet, because they're trying to get as much of that upward motion as they can. So if I'm looking at it this way, that's my foot doing this. Well, if I'm looking at a good golf swing, as they start the downswing, as a player starts the downswing, they have a little flex in their legs. So there's an angle between my foot and my calf. Now, as I start to extend up in the swing and go into the straight line release, like we call it on the Top Speed Golf system, I've gotten rid of a lot of that angle. So my toe is actually pushing down into the ground. So they call ground force reaction. And basically, to simplify things, we don't have to get that complicated with it. Just know if I push into the ground with my foot down and out that direction, that's good for swing speed. The more I do that, the more speed I'm gonna get. Now let's move up to the knee. As I start to come on through that shot, again, if I let that leg flex, I wanna go ahead and push that knee up and to get that club to start to whip up. The more my knee extends, the more my body moves up and clears out of the way, and the more I can get that grip to whip on through there. So in the Top Speed Golf system, like I mentioned, the straight line release is when all this energy has released out here in front, about 45 degrees in front of where your ball is. So if I'm making this swing, my leg's gonna be straight now when I'm fully released the club. That's really helping with that whipping action. Let's go one more up to the hip. If I'm looking at my hip socket, if I'm going toward the camera, as I start down, I have a little squat, and I feel like in my left rear end, my butt cheek here, as I extend through, that's gonna turn up and out of the way. If I'm looking at it from face on, that hip is moving this direction up and out of the way. Again, that helps me to rip that grip vertical like this. As I go up to my shoulder, my downswing, my left shoulder is getting lower. My shoulders are down. This shoulder gets low here. I'm exaggerating here a little bit just so you can see that. This gets lower, and as I come through, look how that shoulder goes up and clears out of the way. That's gonna transfer that chain. That's that connect chain. It goes from the foot, knee, hip, shoulder, and then finally, we're going into our hands, our only connection point to the club and our last link in the chain. As I start that downswing, my hands are getting low here, and then as I let everything lift up, now I'm getting that club to whip up through contact that gets that kind of catapult effect on the club head, and it really takes off for some speed. So let's take the step out of this, and I want you to feel that left side extending up toward the sky as much as you can. So I'm gonna do some practice swings here. Halfway into my downswing, I'm kind of letting my legs flex, my club head is low, my hands are low, and then from there, I want to feel everything just extend up and whip on through to get that great speed there. That's gonna slingshot that club through contact. I want you to go ahead and do 3 swings like that. Kind of pausing here low, and now I'm really feeling like I'm really gonna let that club whip up. 3 more practice swings, nice and easy, half back swing, then really turn on the power down here through contact. There we go, now we're seeing that happen. Once you get comfortable with that, whether it's 3 swings or 30 swings, once you get a good feel for that, now we're gonna go ahead and try to hit this golf ball. It's the same sensation with that step drill and that left side extension, or that left side lift that I just went over in that last piece of the drill. Now let's go ahead and hammer one. Let's see if I can stay around that 118 miles per hour without taking the baseball step. All right, guys, hammered that one. Just barely down the right center of the fairway. This is a par 5. I'm gonna have a nice short shot into this one. Let's see what that club head speed was. So my first one was 110, 118.9 when I did the baseball step, and that one was 118, total distance of 324. So I got the same effect of that baseball swing. The only point of that baseball swing was just to get the feeling of using my body correctly, getting the feeling of this left side coming up, getting that nice and aggressive lift, and getting that club to whip on through contact. That's great to know I can get a little bit extra club head speed, but how can I make that more consistent? One of the fundamentals in the Top Speed Golf system is what we call the straight line release. I mentioned that a little bit in this video, and that concept says as we start to let this club whip through contact, I'm only releasing at 45 degrees here in front. The ball is just getting in the way. So if you feel like you have that hit impulse, like you're trying to hit at the golf ball, your consistency is struggling, the straight line release is gonna be the perfect pair to what we just talked about in this video. I'm gonna play one of my straight line release videos, one of the best ones out there, as a preview here in a second. Just click the link that pops up on your screen, or click the link down below in the description. So the card on the screen or the link in the description, you'll get instant access to that video. And man, you guys will really be able to pair those things together, have some great fun on the golf course. Let's go ahead and get started with that straight line release. A common misconception I see is that we want to create lag, and we just want to hold that lag all the way on through contact and get as much lag as we can coming through contact, and that's simply not true. In the release section, we're going to talk about how to turn that lag into energy, how to turn that into speed so that you can hit it very far and do it, like we mentioned, without hardly any effort at all. And as we're coming through contact, we're going to fully release this angle as we're about 45 past contact. So if I draw, a 45-degree angle, I should be looking at both arms, nice and straight, the club splitting those arms, so that by releasing the club, by getting this angle to release as we're coming through contact, that's what's going to create the speed. Our hands are moving a very short distance, our club is moving a very long distance through contact, and it creates that whip-like effect. Very different swings hitting the exact same position. So first let's take a look at Dustin Johnson releasing the club 45 past. And the reason we're going to see such different swings producing similar positions is that this is the real physics of how this has to happen. Here we're looking at Sergio Garcia. Again, we're going to see tons of